Hi, everyone. Since the beginning of this time of living in the world of COVID-19, I've been asked two very important questions more than any others. How can we keep our people safe? And when can we be together again? Even though the answers to these two questions have been elusive as we've carefully watched the conditions of our world and our community change, and we've done our best to follow the guidance of health experts and government officials, I believe that both of these questions come from the very same place. We love one another. Our love for one another compels us to worry about the safety of our neighbors. And our love for one another compels our desire to share life together again in community. I think both are amazing things. And it's to that end that I'm speaking with you today. Because of our love for one another and our desire to worship and share life together again in person, I would like to share with you our plans at First Presbyterian Church of how we hope to do both soon. Our plan is to begin allowing in-person worship on Sunday, June 7th, barring any major changes in the health of our community. We know from feedback that you've given us that some of you are ready to return to worshiping here at the church on Sunday mornings beginning immediately. Of course, in order to do that safely and to care for one another, there will be safety measures that we will ask that you adhere to. I'll go more into those in a few moments. We also know from feedback that we've received from you, our church family, that some of you are not quite ready to return to in-person worship, and that's okay too. We're all navigating these waters for the very first time. And as Presbyterians, we adhere to the principle that God alone is Lord of the conscience, meaning that we value that not all folks think the same way about matters of faith and matters of church life. What holds us together as the church, regardless of where you find yourself on these very personal decisions, is love. Love for one another. And so, for those who aren't quite ready to consider returning to in-person worship on June 7th, or maybe even for some time beyond that, we will continue using the skills we've gained over these past couple of months to produce the most engaging worship experience for you to share with us from home. And so, first, please remember, if you have any doubts or concerns about coming back at all, then please know that it's perfectly okay to stay home and continue participating in our live stream services for now. We don't want anyone to feel any pressure to do something that causes them increased anxiety in this time. We know that this is a very individualized decision, especially when it comes to factors that may cause you to be of greater risk of illness. Secondly, if you feel sick in any way, please stay home for the safety of your church family. Even if your symptoms are slight, please wait to return until you are totally healthy. Thirdly, when you choose to return, you will see that we are choosing as a church to adhere to the health and safety recommendations being encouraged by our local, state, and federal government. This means that you will be asked to wear a mask. Feel free to bring your own, or we will provide one for you. I realize that wearing a mask in worship may feel particularly strange to some, but I'd like to share with you a couple of ways that this truly helps. I was talking with a faithful physician friend the other day who encouraged me to think of wearing a mask as a way of blessing those around me. In the same way that you'd pray for the person sitting next to you that God would give them love, peace, and health, when you wear a mask, you're simply living that prayer out by your actions. So, I would like to encourage you to a new discipline. Each time you're putting your mask on, to actually pause and pray that your sacrifice, and by your sacrifice and by God's grace, that might be a blessing to the health and safety of our First Presbyterian Church family. Also, masks are critical to allowing us to do what I know so many of you miss, singing together. We know that singing is an important part of worship, but we also know from experts that singing is particularly effective in unintentionally spreading illness. Wearing a mask will allow us to go back to singing together while at the same time showing love to our neighbors by protecting them. Of course, I know that for some, wearing a mask poses other problems or may exacerbate other personal health conditions. If this is true in your case, then please continue worshiping with us from home. We love you, and we don't want to cause you unnecessary discomfort. For those who are planning on attending in-person worship beginning June 7th, then we ask that you use the Boone Street parking lot and enter only through the Boone Street entrance. This will allow us to greet you appropriately and to help guide you safely through our reopening. No other doors will be unlocked for entrance that morning. The elevator will still be available for those needing to use it after entering through the Boone Street entrance. We will have ushers in each of our worship services to help you safely find a place to sit. Families will be allowed to sit together, but all parties will be seated a safe 6 feet apart from others. If either the Contemporary Worship Center or the sanctuary fills up and there's still need for more seating, overflow seating will be available in the fellowship hall, equipped with live stream video. So, and just so you're aware, I want to let you know that neither I nor the worship team will be wearing masks during the services so that we can continue sharing a clear message and worship experience with those here and those worshiping from home. This means that the first row will be blocked off in the Contemporary Worship Center to provide safe distance. In times other than when we're leading worship, we will join all of you in wearing masks. I also want to remind you that we will be having a large portion of our FPC family continue worshiping with us online from home. And so I will often be speaking directly to the camera. There will be no bulletins handed out in either of the worship services. We'll do our best to provide all the worship aids you need on the screens in both services. There will be boxes available to share your offerings with the church, where you can continue giving online. And for the time being, we will not be celebrating the Lord's Supper in person. There will be no childcare or children's activities during the services, but Ms. Jennifer will provide individual packets for kids to use while they worship with their families. These packets are made for your children to take home with them. Restrooms will be open during both the services, but we ask that if you're attending the 8:45 service, that you only use the restrooms on the top floor. And if you're attending the 11 a.m. service, please use the restrooms on the main level. At the end of each service, the ushers will dismiss you by rows to create good space between folks leaving. I will exit through a side door and head outside to wave a safe goodbye from a safe distance outside the building. We understand that you will be happy to see each other, and hugs and handshakes are natural to us and to so many of us. But please refrain from touching or gathering together inside or outside the building or in the parking lot after the service. I know that this is a lot to take in. I never expected to offer these kinds of guidelines for attending church prior to COVID-19. And I know that none of you ever expected to receive guidelines like these prior to that. However, this is where we find ourselves as a church. I'm looking at these extraordinary times as an opportunity for us to love one another in extraordinary ways. We love you, and we are doing everything within our power to keep you safe as you begin to consider returning to church. For those who aren't yet ready to return, we love you too. God has guided us this far, and He will continue to guide us still. So, whether it's in person or via live stream, we look forward to seeing you soon. Blessings.